Every time I watch an anime, I always picture myself in the same spot as the main character. It's a fun little tradition to see how I would do things differently, and if I would be able to survive in the world that I'm watching. At this point, it's become an essential part of the watching experience, and it makes it even better when I'm watching an anime that I would 100% hate being in, like Parasite or another. But the anime that has me going back and forth the most is High School DxD. I can never decide if it would be worth it to be in that world with all the risks and uncertainties that come with it. I feel like if you were to ask someone if they would want to be in the High School DxD universe, the answer would most likely be an astounding yes. I mean, we're talking about a magical world with beautiful women. Who wouldn't want to be there? But the more I think about it, the more I come to the realization that being in the DxD universe isn't as appealing as it initially seems. So would you want to live in the High School DxD world? I can help you decide. So I'm going to give you some positives and negatives of being in the DxD verse, and then you can decide if it would be worth it or not based on that. Before I do though, I do need to set some rules to make things more clear. First off, you'll be transported to the world in your current body and mind. So whatever you look like now, that's what you're going to look like over there. However you think now, that's how you're going to think over there. Next, to make things more interesting, you are not Issei. You are yourself, but you will be taking the spot of the main character Issei. You have the same powers as Issei, but you have to figure out how to use them yourself. You'll also be part of Rias's peerage or team no matter what. And while in this world, you'll come across the same problems that our main team comes across. But nothing is guaranteed. You can solve the problems however you want, or you can die. You will get the same antagonist, but again, not everything is guaranteed to go your way. For example, if you aren't an extreme pervert, you might find yourself struggling with a few battles. And then the last rule is here to help you out a little bit, and to make things more fun. You can use your prior knowledge of the High School DxD world to help you get through the troubles and battles. But you don't have to use it if you would rather do things your own way. And then the last rule is you can never go back to the original world. So all your friends, family, pets, they have no idea that you ever existed, and they will forget you. Those are the conditions that I came up with to make things a little bit more clear and interesting. So now let's get into the positives and negatives of living in this world. And I think I'll go ahead and start with the positives. I think one of the biggest positives of living in the DxD universe would be the world itself. You'll be in a very magical and captivating world, a world that's filled with every mythology and religion that you can think of, so you definitely won't get bored in this world. There's a lot to do, and there's a lot of things to explore, and there's a lot of people that you can meet, besides for God from the Bible because he's dead. But you do get to interact with other gods like Odin, Shiva, and even Lucifer. It's a very interesting world, and you should be having a blast over there. And we might as well get the elephant out of the room here. There will be a whole bunch of baddies in the world. It's kind of rare to find a DxD character that doesn't look good, and that kind of goes for men and women. Like, let's not sleep on Azazel and Zeoticus. And then of course you have the fan favorites like Akano and Rias. So in theory, if you're able to pull this off, you can be with anyone you want, especially since you're in Issei's place, and you'll have opportunities to interact with these characters. Another big positive is you'll have the potential to be one of the most powerful beings in the universe. Issei has a very strong power that really has no limit to it. The boosted gear allows you to multiply your power every 10 seconds, but it seems like once you get to stronger forms, that 10 seconds becomes way less. But the only downside is it taxes the owner. It drains your stamina the more you use it. Plus, if you multiply it too much, you can end up drowning in power and ultimately dying. So you kind of have to be careful. But if you're able to tap into the power, you would be unstoppable. And since you'll automatically be in Rias's group no matter what, you'll have her help tapping into that power. Rias is a pretty good leader, and she'll definitely be able to help you grow as a fighter. She's also pretty strong, so if you don't end up growing as a fighter, at least you have her to kind of carry you for a little bit. And then of course, it gets even better if you're able to run into Azazel. He's a way better leader than Rias, and he'll have you growing stronger like 100 times faster than Rias would. He's got all different types of resources and techniques that he can teach you, and since he's the leader of the Fallen Angels, he has a lot of connections with other people that can help you get stronger. So really just having him with you would help a lot. Another small little positive would be if you like fighting, you get to fight strong people. But if you don't like fighting, then this probably isn't the world for you. In this world, the devils live to around 10,000 years, so you can get a lot done in your lifespan. And it kind of works nicely since there's so much to do in this world, so many people to meet. And that's also another positive. You'll be meeting a lot of people. and making a lot of connections with people along the way. Like, no matter what situation you're in, there's probably someone there that you can call for backup. Like when they called Tanin for the Loki fight, or when they called Sona for the Kokobil fight, or even when Volley helped during the Diodora fight. For the majority of the time, there's gonna be someone there to help you. Plus, since you're the main character, you'll also get some plot armor, so that'll be pretty helpful too. I think one of the most underrated positives is that you'll be rich. Rias' family is extremely rich, and they even moved Issei and his family into a mansion, so you wouldn't even have to worry about money. I mean, that mansion has a movie theater, it has a training room, it has a pool. Basically anything you want is in that house. And then probably the biggest help you will have is your prior knowledge of the series. If you studied up enough, you would know how the events played out, so you can avoid a lot of events from happening. Like, you can completely ignore the entire Juggernaut drive scene if you just watch Asya in that one scene. All you gotta do is make sure Asya doesn't get kidnapped, and you can avoid that whole thing, which would be huge since that had some extreme consequences on Issei. I mean, it reduced his lifespan from 10,000 to 100. So those are some of the positives that I could think of. So if you can pull this off, you'll be living your best life in this universe. In theory, this could be the greatest decision you've ever made, but that is a huge if. A lot of the positives rely on the word if, so let's get to the negatives. One of the biggest negatives is that there's no guarantee you'll survive any of these encounters. You could end up dead at the first Rainier encounter if you aren't careful enough. You could end up dead before you even get a chance to use your sacred gear. Training is a necessity. You have to spend a lot of your time training, learning how to fight, thinking of battle strategies, all of that. So this life will probably be harder than the one you're living right now. You can die at any moment, and according to Rias, when devils die, they just completely cease to exist. There's no heaven, there's no hell, no afterlife, just nothing. So that's a pretty big negative. One of the positives that I listed was the women. The idea of having a bunch of beautiful women is probably very enticing, but there are no guarantees that you can actually even get these women. And I mean, yeah, you can try to use your memory of the series to get through this, but then you would be faking your entire personality. So if you're not a charming person, a kind individual, a good fighter, strong-willed, you know, basic main character stuff, then this probably won't work out for you. Unless, again, you just fake your personality. So if that's your biggest reason for saying yes, then you might want to reconsider. Another big problem is you aren't Issei. You're in his place, but you aren't him. Let me explain a little bit more. Issei is an extreme pervert, and a lot of the ways that he solves his problems is by using that perversion as a weapon. And I would hope that you aren't that big of a pervert, so some of the conflicts like Kuroka, Kokobil, or even a part of Soso, you would most likely have to find a different solution. You can't rely on poking Rias' boobs if that doesn't power you up at all, which is why training is so important. But unless you follow his story perfectly, you probably won't get the same things that he got. So your knowledge of the series would help in certain situations, but it won't help every single time. One of the positives was the connections you'll make on the way, and on the other hand, a big negative is the enemies you're gonna make. Just possessing the power of a legendary dragon that has the ability to kill God would be enough to create a bunch of enemies. So you'll constantly have people trying to attack you or trying to kill you, and a whole bunch of people will just be afraid of you. So you'll kind of just be outcasted from everything. Another negative is you have to do a lot of working. The devils have jobs too, whether that be handing out flyers for humans or doing tasks to help humans. Since you're in Rias' period, you'll have to do them no matter what. And that doesn't really sound like fun to me. Another massive negative is the possibility of everyone around you dying. You could be as strong as possible, but there's still no guarantee that the people around you will survive. All it takes is one slip up and it's over. I mean, we saw this with Asya and Diodora. Issei made one mistake and Asya almost ended up dying. A small thing like that is all it takes, and that could completely ruin the entire experience for you. And then another big turnoff would be having to leave everything from your original world behind. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you unfortunately don't have a loving family or you don't have any friends, but if you were blessed with those things, then the thought of leaving them behind is kind of sad. It really is a high risk, high reward type situation. On one hand, you could be living the dream and you could have everything you ever wanted, but on the other hand, you could be getting capped off in 2 seconds. Or you could just not enjoy the world. world, or the hard work that comes with it. So with all that in mind, the question remains, would you want to live in the high school DxD universe? And I guess I'll give my answer right now. For now, my answer is no, and it's been no for around 2 years. I just don't think the risk is worth it. No outcome is really guaranteed in that world. If I left everything I loved behind to go to this fantasy world and ended up dying at the first encounter with Rainier, I can't even put into words how mad I would be. Also, the idea of having to train, work, and fight all the time really isn't appealing to me. I do work out and have been for a few years now, but I don't like doing it. I just do it because I want to look a certain way. So I would probably hate it even more if I had to do it to survive. And then of course, I don't want to have to watch my friends die. And I definitely don't want their lives to all rely on me beating some dude in a fight, which is also something I don't want to do. Fighting has never been something I'm interested in. Like, why would I want to get beat up for fun? I feel like the fight that scares me the most is the So-So fight, because yeah, Wukong does jump in at the end, but So-So is just so strong. I would probably die in the first 2 minutes. I know I make fun of the other characters for losing their fights immediately, but if I was in that same situation, I would be laid out like Yamcha before anyone even had a chance to power up. And then I think the biggest turnoff for me is having to leave this world behind. I was fortunate enough to have a very loving and supportive family, and also a lot of friends, so I couldn't imagine just leaving them behind just to end up on King Kai's planet. So yeah, the thought of being in the DxD verse does sound appealing to a certain extent, but I'd rather continue living a peaceful life over here. Plus, if I'm not here, who's going to be dropping these consistent bangers? This was a short little video that was made kinda just to get my upload schedule on track. That last video took so long to edit. Plus, it was having troubles trying to pass the copyright test and everything. So that's why this video is coming out in such a short notice, and why it's so random. I don't really know what video I'm gonna do next. Probably something over season 2, but I don't know for sure. I got some new members to thank. Thank you Teratoma Skyline for joining the membership, and Issei Midoriya, I see you with the Goat Zazel membership, so I'll go ahead and sing a little song for you. This is a thank you song for Issei Midoriya for subscribing to the Goat Zazel membership. This one's for you, Issei Midoriya. I got a new voice for you. Issei Midoriya. Issei Midoriya. Issei Midoriya. Thank you. Thank you, Issei Midoriya. So yeah, Issei Midoriya, Teratoma Skyline, thank you both for subscribing to the membership. If you want to help me out, the link should be in the description of this video, and it's in the description of my channel. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.